I think the biggest surprise out of all of this, quite frankly, and I love the conversation, I think the biggest surprise is it was a respectful conversation in the Promotional Products Professionals Facebook page where
Well
people
done,
disagreed.
Petrie. Well done.
Oh, turn off your mind, relax, and float downstream while listening to episode 83 of the Promo UPFront podcast. I am one of your hosts, Bill Petrie. With me, as always, the Brigadier General of Badges, the one and only King of Kashaktam himself, the one and only Kirby Hasseman. Kirby, you're home today, so I think there's a little bit of a weather issue in your area.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. And if my audio is not as good as normal, I apologize. I did not prepare, calling for a big storm or whatever. And we've got inches, like, I don't think inches, but a lot of ice, lot of ice. I actually intended to drive into the office today. We've shut down our office. But I was going to go in and do the podcast from there. And I literally, you couldn't get into my truck. It was iced over. You couldn't walk. I couldn't get back up the sidewalk. And I was like, this is stupid. Bill won't mind if I'm not as well lit today. So, and I mean that in a lighting perspective, not a drinking perspective, but it's been an interesting morning. How are you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. Actually, I finally think I'm over I was never diagnosed with COVID, but although I'm pretty sure I had it, I'm pretty much over the COVID cough, which I feel really good about because I've been coughing, as you will attest to, nonstop for the past 5-6 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll have an occasional cough here and there, but it means that if you're watching the podcast, you won't see me hastily try to mute my audio while I, cough up a lung. Doing well. We're expected to get a little bit of that frozen precipitation. And we were talking before the podcast, growing up in the South, we get ice, and people in the North always make fun of how you get shut down because there's so little precipitation. Ice is very different than snow, people. Yeah. Ice is no joke. I'm just hoping, please tell me you got to the hospital today to have your breakfast.
No, absolutely not. I didn't leave my driveway.
Man.
So I will tell you, I have for these occasions, I have breakfast bowls those are I have a plan in place in case I can't get to the hospital.
Well, you want a few things out of breakfast, right? You want some nutrition. You want something tasty, get you going in the day. I get that. So the breakfast bowls are fine. But you know what, Kirby? Clients are starting to, they want a few things out of their branded merchandise.
Mm-hmm.
They want quality.
Yeah.
They want value.
Yeah.
Got to have price. So they want all three. But when we all know that, but more and more clients are asking for something else. Do you know what that is, Kirby?
Am I supposed to fill in the blank, or do you want to say it, Bill?
But either one of us. I think it's customization, don't you?
Customization is what I was going to say.
Well, there you go. We all, in a world where brands are seeking to stand out from the crowd and be heard over the noise, and every brand is, why not help your clients to do exactly that with complete customization from our good pals over at Blue Generation? That's right. Our friends over at Blue Generation, your home for fashion-forward apparel in the promotional products industry, has rolled out a line of merchandise that's completely customizable with their sublimation process. Hoodies, and they have collars inside jackets, pockets for the hoodies, pillows, drawstrings. Kirby, I mean, when you have those many options, really the options are limitless to really make a custom garment at a quality price.
Yeah, I think as you said, customization is the key, and I think it's the way that you make a branded piece of merchandise really your own. Right? At this point, putting your logo on it is sort of like the basics. That's that's still great. But if you want to take it up a notch, the idea of putting, a pattern that is a step and repeat of your logo or something really cool on the inside of your collar, that's a really cool way, as you said, to customize and really take it up a level.
Yeah, great points, Kirby. And even customized drawstrings, just, so it gives different color and things like that, contrasting colors, great stuff. When the question is complete sublimation customization, Blue Generation's completely your answer. So with so many combinations, the end result for your client is truly a one-of-a-kind piece that they're going to treasure for years. So head over to, now this is a little long, folks, but stick with me, bluegeneration.com/custom sublimated apparel, and you can see all the amazing options and truly The only restriction is what your imagination is. And so you can partner with your client, come up with something really, really cool. Or you can simply reach out to your Blue Generation rep and they'll be happy to help you out. So complete customization through sublimation from our pals over at Blue Generation. We appreciate their sponsorship. Yeah, it is fun to say. Kind of a little bit of a tongue twister, but it's good to go. All right. So Kirby, you have the upfront section of our podcast today. What are we talking about in the world of promo?
So there was a discussion, I believe it was on the Promotional Products Professionals page, and it was actually a pretty respectful discussion where essentially somebody came out and said, look, I'm considering doing a company's like a storefront for my business. So the question was, do I do an in-house store or do I not do an in-house store? And I think people had strong opinions on both sides. I think that's a super interesting discussion. As a organization who does normally have an office that I go to, that's something that I've certainly gone back and forth on. So I guess the question to you today, and I certainly have thoughts and opinions about this, but I wanted yours. What say you, Bill? Should you do that or not?
I think it depends. I mean, I see both sides of it. Having that, I love having a place to go. I do work from home. I'm very comfortable working from home, but I'm not going to lie. I do miss having a place to go where everything's completely mine and all that. So it's not, but it's more than that. We're talking about a retail storefront here. And so I see the positives in terms of certainly increased traffic and maybe a drop in client here and there. I also see the potential pitfalls where you have, a lot of distractions. And are those the clients you really want? I think it depends on where you're at. If you're in a real busy, and also it kind of matters what your goals are.
Yeah.
Are you going to cater to that kind of client? Do you have equipment in the back where you're going to do some one-offs and things like that? There's where I think a storefront makes sense, where you can do those kind of panic last minute orders for a child's birthday party in 3 days. And if you've got some DTG equipment in the back to do some quick apparel runs, I think it makes sense. I think if you are really focused on corporate clients and that's your business, it makes no sense to have a retail storefront. I think that would be a distraction. So I think, unfortunately, there's no black or white answer. I think it matters kind of where you live. I think it makes much more sense in a smaller town, to be honest with you. And then I also think it matters what kind of clients you really want.
Yeah, no, and I think you're right. And I'll be honest with you, we've had it both ways. And part of it had to do with space, right? So our first office was really small. We didn't have room. Like we barely had room enough to have offices for everybody. And so it really wasn't in the discussion. In our current location, it's a little bigger, that.
Yep.
And when we opened up, my answer was no. We did not have any, we had out front, we had a receptionist and there was sort of room for her at the time. And that was what we used that space for. But what I found is we actually have clients, though we have corporate clients, we have clients who come to us. I have not no interest, but I have very little interest in clients rolling in for 6 t-shirts. Like that's not what I want. But what I found, and this was a total happy accident, was we had in the old office, I had no room for samples or anything, right? It was a real problem. Upstairs in our office, we had rows of samples. And so I had room for it. And my thought was, well, now our salespeople can see it, right? Well, when clients would come to see me upstairs, they would come toward my office and I have a big, long kind of walkway to get to me. They couldn't help but stop. It was fascinating to me to watch that they were like, ooh, what's this? So you guys, I didn't know you guys did this. And it was a totally organic thing. And so we have evolved ours. I wouldn't call it a store or anything like that. It's just in our lobby, we have samples of cool projects, not the inexpensive ones, but the really awesome t-shirt that is super soft. The custom safety stuff that we've done, highlighting print stuff that we've done, so that when they're waiting for me or waiting for the person they're meeting, that they tend to look around and just touch and feel. That's how we use it. And it's been good. It's not distracting at all. Probably to a fault. We don't update it as much as we should. But for us, it works. but it's not a huge focus. It's just like, hey, it's like a lobby of samples. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think you hit on something I really like, and I'll touch on it in just a second. I love the idea of having a physical place where you have a showroom. I do think
Showroom,
that's
that's a
still
better use. That's what it,
yeah, I think that still works. And what you hit on something, and I think it's a happy accident. I have been to your office, and it is kind of a long hallway, and there are samples up there. Think about when you leave a museum, you go through a museum, they always make you go through the gift store. And I think if you or you know, if you're or in a casino, we all been to Vegas.
Yeah.
When you go through, want to get to a restaurant, you got to go through the casino generally. And so I think there's some merit to really thinking about having a physical place, but the design is to get to the meeting room, whether that's your office, a dedicated meeting space or whatever, or it's in the showroom itself.
Yeah.
You have to either go through the showroom or meet in the showroom.
Yeah, I like that.
I haven't thought about that in years, but we used to do that in our old Halo office 5,000 years ago when I first started in the industry in year 2000, believe it or not. Our showroom was where we had our meetings, and it was amazing. Now, granted, you have to keep up with the showroom, and there's work involved in that, but it's work that pays off. And I love the fact that you put your probably more cool projects, your higher end merchandise in your storefront window. Yeah. So it's kind of very casual advertising for you. But it's not like inviting you to come in to get, 15 t-shirts for the Johnson family picnic.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of people who build amazing business.
It's not the business you want, though.
Not what I want. So yeah, I think, there, as you said, there's no black and white. And I think for us, we spend a little time in the gray on this, and it works for us.
I think the biggest surprise out of all of this, quite frankly, and I love the conversation, I think the biggest surprise is it was a respectful conversation in the Promotional Products Professionals Facebook page where people disagreed.
Well done.
See, maybe we can have nice things. Okay, Kirby. Speaking of nice things, I'm sure you saw this. It's kind of a more big branding discussion, kind of a business discussion, but it's an important one because it's been so visible. The Washington football team has announced as of yesterday, they announced their name change and their logo change. So for anyone who's not familiar with the National Football League or this process, the NFL or the Washington football team changed their name about 2 years ago, maybe 18 months ago, from the Redskins, which they had been since 1932, I believe, to just football team, as they went through this process of trying to figure out what they wanted to be called. Now, some of the finalists.
Can I just say something really quick? I was really surprised, and I want to get to this. I apologize, but I was really surprised at how quickly I took, and I feel like football fans took to the idea of just calling them the Washington football team. I thought when that came out that I was going to hate that with all of my being. And I was just like, but by now I'm like, don't change it. It's fine.
See, I kind of hated it. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I never warmed up to me, but we should talk about that. So the finalists were Armada, Brigade, Defenders, Commanders, Presidents, Red Hogs, Red Wolves, and Football Team. They have the same color scheme. When they went to football team, they put the numbers on the sides of the helmets. Now it's just going to be a abstractish W. On one iteration, it's actually on the front of it. So I want to ask you this. Their goal with rebranding was to push aside and make amends for what many feel was a very racist nickname for Native Americans. One, did it accomplish that? But number two, they also wanted to keep hold on to some of their traditions, hold on to the history of the organization. Did they achieve that with Washington Commanders and in keeping the same color scheme?
Yeah, and keeping in mind, I don't get this worked up about stuff like this for the most part, okay? But I think it has to do with whether it's your team or not. So I'll certainly concede that. But from my perspective, yeah, I think they did. I like the name. I think it makes sense. There's a lot of ways they could have gone that I think would have been stupid. This was one. When it came out, I was just like, oh, okay, I like that. I mean, immediately you're thinking, okay, hashtag take command. There's a bunch of things that I could. The color scheme, I think keeping that the same made sense.
Yeah.
Commanders is cool. That's fine. I dig that. And then I think that that's one of those things where immediately sort of the branding and merchandise brain jumps in and is like, oh yeah, we could have some fun with that. So I personally, 2 thumbs up. I think it was a success.
I think it's okay. I think it's safe. And that's, by the way, not a criticism.
Yeah.
That's not a criticism. You don't, I mean, I think you would have had some issues with Armada. I think you would have had issues, a lot of them. I always still like the Washington Senators. I love that. There was a baseball team called that, turned into the Texas Rangers, by the way. But before that, there was a Washington Senators that turned into the Minnesota Twins, but that's beside the point. I always like the name Washington Senators, or something funny about that to me. I just love that. Commanders, safe. It does kind of, there's a big military tie-in, which I don't have any issue with. I think they had to keep that same color scheme. Sure. I don't know if that was ever up for debate or not. I think it was safe. It sounds weird now. Really, it does. Like Washington Commanders, it sounds like some sort of made-up team in a B movie. But so did the Dallas Mavericks when they started. That sounded weird. Or the Orlando Magic. And now we all just accept all of those things. So over time, we'll accept it. Just like you said, you accepted football team. I never did. I thought that was a weird way to go. I understood why they did it immediately. It was they had made that decision to do that. If they had kept Washington football team, to me, that would have been just so dumb and tricked up. I think it would have been in 5 years, we would have been right back here and they would have had a new name. I don't think they would have kept it forever.
Yeah, that's fine. But what was funny to me about it was I was immediately, when they're calling it the Washington football team, I was like, really? That was my initial reaction. And what I found was how quickly the Washington football team was completely different from every other thing. Yeah, sure. Like it immediately differentiated. You could just say the football team and I knew what you were talking about, which up until that point, that would not have been the case. When they were doing highlights on ESPN and they'd say, will the football team, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I was surprised at how quickly my brain went, okay.
It's very clunky.
The Commanders thing, like in a year, this will not be a thing.
Yeah, football team just always was very clunky to me, so I never moved past the really stage. I don't know. So interesting conversation. All right, Kirby, you got another topic for us?
Yeah. So Peloton. Peloton.
Okay. They've had some struggles, buddy.
Yeah, they sure have. It's been a challenging couple of months, right? But I saw an article that talked about buried in the doom and gloom of all these reports, that was a staggering statistic, right? Yeah. Peloton's 2021 branded apparel revenue topped $100 million. It doubled their 2020. After launching its private label in September of last year, they partnered with megastars like Beyonce and continued collaborating. I think, for whatever reason, that was really interesting to me, that when I think of Peloton, I'm like, okay, it's bikes, and it's bikes you can't get, right? All that sort of thing. But I had no idea. $100 million. That is an incredible number when you talk about branded apparel. So I didn't know, A, if you'd seen it, and B, what your thoughts were on it.
I did see that, and I thought, wow, what an incredible number. And so there is actually a portion of their company they haven't mismanaged. Because you look at the popularity, or the seeming popularity of Peloton, it boggles my mind how they're just, burning money. I mean, how they're not profitable, and they have all these issues. And then you see a number like that, and you talk about, and there's probably a lot more in there than you and I really understand in terms of a case study in creating a brand within a brand that does something different, but it's related to. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a fantastic story about what the power of branded merchandise can do. I mean, I don't know what their profit and loss statement is, but man, if I'm in marketing, I'm talking about that all day long. I don't want to talk about the bike. I don't want to talk about the competitors who have the same bike at half the price. I don't want to talk about the TV characters who have had heart attacks and died on a Peloton. I don't want to talk about any of that. Let's talk about our apparel line, because we doubled sales last year, kids. I think it's incredible. And that's what, again, sorry, I'm going to go back to this mismanagement of the company in how you have this bright spot in sales and marketing, but the company's still not doing well. You have an extraordinary, this shows the loyalty, the fervent loyalty of their fan base.
Yeah.
What's going on there? What is it? Is a pricing issue? I don't know, but what a cool story. That's a lot of merchandise. This is, I don't know what Lululemon sells, but that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, so what was interesting to me is we had this discussion a month or so ago when we talked about the tweet that I'd seen that said that you don't have a brand until people will pay for your merchandise.
Yeah.
Again, I kind of came back on that and kind of agreed with you that that's not a perfect.
They wear your merchandise.
Yeah, they wear. Yeah, absolutely. That being said.
Yeah. If
you
are you backtracking from a retracking from a backtracking?
I'm not. I still think that if your customers and your tribe are willing to front your gear, that obviously that's awesome. But the pinnacle of the mountain to really say that you have a legacy brand is to say that you've done $100 million in branded apparel. That's a brand. That's incredible.
Yes. The concern I have, though, in 3 years, will it even exist? Will it exist under some other company that they bought it? I don't know. It doesn't have staying power, but right now, 100%, you're right. 100%. All right, Kirby, good topic. Real quick one, and then let's move on. Okay. I don't know if you saw this Oscar Mayer face mask. It's an interesting thing. So it's not a face mask like what we would wear during a pandemic. It's an actual beauty face mask. Okay. It's not made of bologna. It looks like bologna. It's made of hydrogel, contains witch hazel botanicals and seaweed derived ingredients to protect and hydrate your skin. Comes in the same packaging as Oscar Mayer bologna. So the packaging is genius. And I think I'm like, why aren't more brands doing something like this? Having a little fun with your brand, expanding your reach a little bit. You can buy it on Amazon right now. If you look under Oscar Mayer face mask, it's $4.99 for one of these hydrogel face masks. Okay, and it's a little creepy. Yeah, it's a little creepy looking, and it's got a little Hannibal Lecter to it. But I'm like, what a really ingenious way to kind of have fun with your brand. It's not a joke. I mean, it's an actual skincare product, and it's been tested and so on and so forth. Why aren't more brands doing this, Kirby? How can we help? How can we as an industry help brands grow horizontally? Because we are always focused on the vertical, Why don't we think more of the horizontal?
Well, I think because that's out of the box. I mean, not everybody and not every brand is comfortable with that, right? It's funny because, as you know, my youngest daughter's an esthetician, so like my wheels are turning. I'm like, I can't wait to tell Jade about this product.
I'll send you the link. You can just order it.
Yeah, please do. I'm totally serious about that. But I think it was funny. It reminds me of a discussion I think it was Jeremy Picker did at the latest SKUCon where he talked about different collections. And I think this will tie in. So Jeff Wickerham, one of my sales team, was on that call, and he was fascinated by that. And so he was looking through his notes, and he showed his wife the Crocs that were like the Kentucky Fried Chicken Crocs.
Yeah.
Like a total departure. Jeff and his wife were like, those look gross. Those are weird. I don't like them. And his 11-year-old daughter walked by and said, ooh, I want those. Yep. And I think it was a light bulb went off in his head immediately. And he was like, okay, maybe there's something there. And I think that's the part that these brands that are doing this creative stuff are getting, that it's just taking folks a little while to catch up to. And I think it has to do with whether you're willing to put yourself out there in a different way as a brand.
Well, and I think as promotional products professionals and as salespeople, or marketing people, it's incumbent upon us, if we see opportunities for a horizontal, man, talk about adding value to your client, even if they don't take the idea, even if they don't use it.
You mean like an apparel line for a fitness company?
Exactly. No, that's exactly what I mean. Why not do those things? Why not? We don't think enough in our industry. Exactly. And I don't mean that we don't, though. We are busy. This is what the client wants, is what they always get. We don't stop and think about, how can I materially partner with this company to grow their business? Oh, and by the way, I'll benefit from it too. Right. But again, these are great examples of ways to think about. I never would have thought of that. That's genius.
Yeah, it's super.
But there are so many products you can look at in our industry that are maybe a little different, maybe a little quirky, and we could probably find some applications for those in companies that you wouldn't normally think, and how they can do some horizontal growth.
Yeah, I dig it. That's a fun topic, man.
All right, Kirby, let's do a quick little. I'm gonna bring it back. I'm bringing it back. Bringing it back to a little rant. It is called random rapid fire. It's gonna be very quick. There are no right or wrong answers here. There's no theme here. I just thought of literally about 12 different things, either or, and I just want your opinion. Haven't done this in a long time.
I love it.
You can explain if you want. You don't have to. Again, no wrong answers. FedEx or UPS?
I think most of the time I go UPS.
Okay. Backpack or fanny pack?
Backpack for me. I do appreciate the fanny pack these days. That it's like I think that it needs rebranded because it's a terrible name for a product. But from a runner's perspective, having something like that's not huge to carry around is actually pretty functional. Maybe we should rebrand it to the pooch pouch. Okay. All right. Whataburger or In-N-Out? This is gonna send you over the edge. I've never been to either one, so I don't know. At least for the merchandise, genius, you have to say Whataburger, but that's okay. Whatever you say. Beatles or Rolling Stones? Oh, Beatles all day. Okay. Driver or putter? Driver. Okay. Speaker or headphones? I think I use headphones more often. I like to be in my own space. Okay. Hamburgers or hot dogs? Hamburgers all day. Okay. Can or bottle? Bottle. Cake or pie? My answer is neither. I just don't like either one. I guess cake. I don't know. I really don't see. There's where you're wrong, and I'll tell you why. Real quick, if I can interject. Yeah. So you have $10, and I say go to the grocery store and buy the best $10 cake you can buy, and buy the best $10 pie you can buy. The pie is always going to be much better, much more flavor. I would have to 100% believe you. I don't like either one. All right. SKU Con or SKU Camp? I'm going to go SKU Camp. I really like the immersive piece of that. Okay. Coke or the Pepsi? Pepsi all day, every day. Nope. Too sweet. Hardcover book or audiobook? I love a hardcover book, but I think if I'm being honest, I'm listening to more audiobooks these days. Okay. Boxers or briefs? Is there boxer briefs? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, yeah. ASI or PPAI? I'm kidding. He's not answering that, folks. We don't do that game here. But I tell you what we do appreciate is the fact that we understand, and so does our pal, or so do our pals at Blue Generation. They understand that clients are not just seeking quality, value, and price. That's kind of a given. They also want customization, and with Blue Generation sublimation, they can do that. They have hoodies, collars, pockets, pillows, drawstrings, all these wonderful things to make fully customized products for you and your clients. You know you want to learn more. You know you need to learn more. You know you have to learn more, kids. So head over to bluegeneration.com/custom-sublimated-apparel. See all the amazing options there, or simply reach out to your local Blue Generation rep for more information. You're not going to be sorry you did. Kirby, I want to thank you for having the courage to brave the ice to go almost to your office and come back to podcast with me this fine morning. It's fun, man.